Hi guys, I'm Annabelle. Welcome to this vlog. Wynonna Earp is back, and wow, I know we're all excited. So I wanted to put together a video just sharing with you the things that I saw, some details that you might have missed, and some fan service. For those of you that do not know what fan service is when they add something to the show that it's for the fans, like something that maybe other people might not know what it is, but the fans that have been with the show for a long time, they know exactly what it is. So I'll point those out as well. We'll talk about some theories. We'll just dive in and kind of explore what the episode was about. You ready for this? Let's do it. Wait. Before we go on, I need to warn you, there are going to be spoilers. So if for any reason, which I cannot think of, you still haven't seen the show, go back, watch the show, and then come right back. I'll be here. No problem. I'll wait for you. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is recap. Where did we left off? If you remember, Wynonna and Waverly went to get Bullshar. Wynonna drugged everybody else, so we got all the gays drugged, Nicole, Robin, and Jeremy. They're at Waverly's house, Waverly's and Wynonna's house, asleep, and Waverly and Dog and Wynonna went to the garden. So they defeat Bullshar, but Waverly and Dog get dragged into the garden. First Waverly gets dragged in, and then Dog goes after her to go get her. So we move forward to this episode that just started, and we see, the first thing we see, amazing, cool pump music, and Wynonna is gearing up. And the weapons on that table are awesome. She's got some crazy stuff, and of course, a flask. Don't miss that detail. For all their fans of Wynonna Earp, we know she likes to drink. And you hear that sound like she's gurgling it all up. She just decided to drink it right away. She didn't even wait. She took a drink of that flask. And then she picks up a couple of weapons. And then we get Nedley. Music stops and Nedley says, "Are you almost done? I feel like I've been standing here for 2 years." And that's another detail you might have missed if you're not a fan of the show. They're calling back to the 2 years that the show was in a hiatus. We haven't seen the show in 2 years, but in the episode, everything just happened right where we left off, same day. So keep that in mind. Moving on. So next we see Wynonna and Nedley treading through the snow. And Nedley asks Wynonna to explain the plan again, which Wynonna does. I believe this is mostly to get everyone else that's not really familiar with the show caught up with it, because she quickly explains what they're going to be doing. But also, if you pay attention, the plan, there's no plan. All she's planning to do is go up the stairs that she can't even see because they're invisible, find Waverly and Doug, and get out. How is that a plan? Like, that's no plan, is it? But, in any case, they do find the stairs, which was great, and I'm glad that Wynonna was able to see them. She goes up there, but of course, we all saw it. Oops, she falls. That's Wynonna Earp for you, everybody. Plans never go as planned. On the next scene, we leave the snow and we're in the homestead. But before we do that, we gotta talk about that awesome Nedley quote. As Wynonna's going up the stairs, she says to her, "I'm still not looking at your ass." Again, there's some fan service. If you don't know what that's referring to, there's an episode in season 3 where Nedley is sitting at the desk and Wynonna is in a closet looking for stuff, and she says to him, "Nedley, are you looking at my ass?" To which Nedley says no. And for those of you who do not know this, Melanie Scrofano, the actress who plays Wynonna Earp, came up with that line all by herself. It wasn't in the script, and the fans loved it. So we move on. We're in the homestead now. Nedley's hurt. They are looking for something to use, first aid kit of some kind. Can't find anything. So of course, what does he come up with? Yeah, you know what it is, pads. But the important thing about this scene is that flashback that we get, that amazing scene where we get this flashback to when Jeremy carved up the name Valdez. And this show is so amazing in that it throws things at you that you don't even need, but they're so cool. Why did he do it with a knife? And when we get Jeremy's flashback, he says that he couldn't find a pen. That's just the only reason why. There was nothing special about it. He just couldn't find a pen, so he wrote it with what he found. So we get the scene with Jeremy and some kind of police or military force coming and evacuating the town, and him trying to not go with them. I think the most important part about this scene is the fact that when the police or military finally come in, Jeremy makes a point to say, I hope that taser is set on tickle. And I think that the reason why he does that is so that we know that he's not dead, because that'd be sad. And one of the things that Emily Andras, the showrunner, has always said that she will never kill a gay character just like that. And for those that have seen the show and that are fans of the show, we all love Jeremy anyway, so we don't want him dead. So anyways, we go back to Wynonna and Emily talking about Valdez, and Wynonna finds the ring. And that was a really cool scene, again, for fans, because we kind of get a confirmation that there was a wedding proposal. If you remember the scene where Waverly proposed to Nicole, we really couldn't tell if it was a proposal because of the way that she worded it. But Melanie says maybe he proposed, or maybe made a proposition. So again, we're not completely sure yet, but it's gearing towards, oh, was there something real there? And we will get confirmation later on the show. We'll talk about that later. But they got the ring, and I love how Wynonna asks about Nicole and then says, I hope she's okay, and boom, we get to see where Nicole is, which we'll talk about next. Okay, so Nicole. We get a very short scene. We just see that Nicole is alive, and she's very, very, very pissed at Wynonna. And of course we know that it's because she got, drugged and had to sit out and not be able to help. And being that Waverly, is who she is, she's very mad that she didn't get a chance to do that. During this next scenes, we just get a lot of back and forth between the train and the homestead. Kind of keeps the action, and it keeps everything interesting, and we want to know what's going on in both places. So I thought that was interesting. Going back to the homestead, we get the knife, the throwing of the knife, and that actually, if you guys don't know, that was a teaser. That whole scene was teased before the show actually came up in the air. So all the fans were wondering and trying to guess who threw the knife, and we had people guessing it was Rosita, we had people guessing it was Jeremy, we had people guessing it was Valdez, Nicole, all sorts of guesses, but it was in the end Mercedes, which I love, by the way. So anyways, Mercedes and Wynonna we're having a conversation. Wynonna immediately starts trying to research who Valdez is, and I think it's interesting if you look at what she finds in Google, it's no help. It's like kayaking in a place, I guess, called Valdez, some oil spill that happened, random stuff that has nothing to do with who Valdez really is, as we'll see later in the show. Back on the train, we get a scene where Nicole is desperate to get out of the train, and we learn that the lugs have an electric shock, so can't be opened. A guy already tried to open the door, and didn't go too well for him. But I think the most emotional scene was the one where Kate wants to read for Nicole, and so she asks for something of Waverly so that she could read for Nicole and tell her what happened to Waverly. And immediately Nicole goes to find the ring that Waverly gave her, but it's not there. So, of course, everybody loves when Kate says, you need something, you have something of Waverly, and Nicole say, yeah, me. I mean, if that's not love, then I don't know what is. So that was really, really cool. Melanie says he's kept Wynonna's files, so all of them go to the police station to go find them. And where are they hidden? Not where Wynonna expects, but under the couch. Now, again, fan service right there for those of you that do not know. This couch is important to the fandom. Now, Natalie says, and I quote, nobody ever uses that couch. But we all know that that's the couch where Waverly and Nicole first kissed. So we know that there has been some action on that couch. Again, we're at the police station. They find the files on Valdez. They're looking over, and we have kind of the same transition from one scene to another, where we're going from the police station to the train, where Nicole is getting the cards read to her. Obviously, the cards talk about a journey and a transition and some stuff that we will not be able to put together yet, but I'm sure that eventually they will make sense. Just like if you remember when we had the cards about the garden, at the beginning they didn't make sense at all, but then as the plot progressed, we were able to understand exactly what they meant. So just keep in mind what the cards said: doorway, transition, a journey. And Kate said that the journey, which was the last word she used, was not for Nicole. My guess is that she means there's a journey for Waverly, who's the one that's at the garden and who the reading was for. But we'll have to see where that goes. Back at the police station, they find a file with the word garden written on it and not even printed. It's just on pencil. So what does that all mean? They just put one and one together and they know they need to go find this Valdez person, which they find out where she's stationed and they're getting ready to go. So again, some more gearing up, but then they have to decide who's gonna go, who's gonna stay behind, and Mercedes, who was a slutty nurse once for Halloween, is gonna stay back and be Nedley's nurse because he's been wounded. Good luck, Nedley. In the next scene, we see Doug and his entrance to the garden, and how epic was that? He comes in and it's just this whirling thing behind him as he comes in, and just his stance, and he seemed to be surprised that he is wearing something different, which I was surprised too. So it's a longer jacket, and a lot of fans are saying that when you enter the garden, it kind of gives you a look that you had in your past. So I'm not sure if that's true or not, but you know, we do see some more kind of details that show that. For example, when he finds Waverly, which is kind of right away because Waverly starts yelling. Waverly's wearing a coat that she wore on the Jolene episode, which was back in season 3. So she's also not wearing what she was wearing when she went into the garden. She's wearing something from her past. And later on, which we'll talk about later, we also see another clue towards that when you enter the garden, you kind of look like you looked in your past. We'll talk about that a little later. But Doc gets there and finds Waverly tied up, or chained up, I should say, and has to immediately rescue her. He has no weapons. He has nothing, but the quote he says is, "I am a weapon." And I love the fact that there was a boulder with the chains, connected to the chains in a well, and he even says it had to be a well. Seems to me that in this show, a lot of times the characters have to face their own fears or something that has haunted them in the past, always comes back. And here is a perfect example. It is a well. Obviously he's afraid to fall back in there, but he still, no matter what, friends are friends, and he drags that boulder out and gets Waverly out of a pickle. She thanks him and tells him he sucks, but of course she means he sucked out the venom, and that's just to remind us of what happened yesterday in the show, but 2 years for the fans. So moving on, we see Wynonna, and I love this scene because it so embodies what the show tries to represent. You know, Wynonna doesn't have her gun, and she's just talking to herself at her truck, saying how without the gun she is nothing. But then she says, wait, I'm not nothing. So I love this conversation she has with herself, and it's so Wynonna, and it's so important that we know, this is what the show tries to portray. A hero doesn't have to be perfect. We can have our flaws, but the important thing is that Wynonna has to believe in herself and believe that she can do this. And we all know she will, right? Because she is Wynonna Earp. As she's talking to herself, then she hears Nicole's voice calling to her. And we've seen this scene in the teaser. It's awesome. It, like Kat Barrell, who plays Nicole, said, it embodies all the emotions, all of what she wanted to say. With this one punch, she just expresses what she felt. and how she felt about Wynonna drugging her and keeping her out of the fight. And then they go over, how they're going to go after Valdez, kind of put together a little plan. We all love the reference to Daddy and how Nicole is like a dad. So that started there, but we'll see splashes of it throughout the rest of the episode. So that was kind of cool too. And they go to find Valdez at Monument, which we've never been to before, which is kind of cool that we get to explore in a new setting. Next, we get a scene at the garden, and this scene is pretty cool, and it might have some information on what we're going to be seeing next in the season. Doc and Waverly are walking around, and they find this chair, which somehow Waverly knows it belongs to her father. She goes to sit on it, and Doc stops her, and Waverly says that it is her birthright, her legacy. And then she kind of snaps out of it. And I think this was interesting and a clue because that's very not like Waverly. So we'll have to wait and see what that really means. But it feels to me like there's something in the garden that's going to be affecting her. And we get some clues later on about this when they start to fall asleep and kind of forget. And they're talking to themselves about. Doc is they're at the campsite. This is the scene right after they're at the campsite, and Doc is saying Haught, and then he goes, "Is it Nicole?" That gives you a clue that he's forgetting whose name Haught is. Same thing with Waverly. She's like Nicole Haught with the red hair and the brown eyes. And I think there's another important detail that she mentions the Stetson. Now, when have we seen Nicole wearing a Stetson? The only time we've seen Nicole wearing a Stetson is in that episode 2 in season 1 when they first met. After that, Nicole really doesn't wear that hat that much. So that was also to me another clue that kind of goes back to that idea that the garden brings you back to the past. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I thought it was interesting that Waverly said that. Now they go down these stairs and we get to meet finally somebody at the garden, and it's this crazy looking guy with blood all over him, scars, and if you look closely he's wearing a lab coat and it says Black Badge Division on it. So why are there Black Badge people in the garden? We will have to find out, wait and find out. They try to get some information out of this guy, but he's talking crazy about feeding with blood the machine, which is going crazy. And then he just chops his head off. Very Earp style. Okay, so in this next scene, we're back with Nicole and Wynonna, and what we were all waiting and thankful for, we finally get confirmation that there was a marriage proposition. Wynonna wants to know what the answer is, and I think she speaks for all the fans. We all want to know what the answer is, but Nicole says, like, I'm going to tell you first, so we'll have to wait. We have some sniper fire, and we gotta finally get to meet Valdez, because Wynonna and Nicole work it out together, good team that they always are, and they figure out a way to trap the sniper and knock her out. So Valdez happens to be the daughter of the Valdez they're looking for, not the right Valdez, this is Rachel. But nonetheless, she knows where the lab is, so off they go, and we get zombies, because Wynonna, always acting without thinking about the consequences first, decides to blow up the glass door that's the door to the lab that is locked, and off comes the zombies. And the mayhem starts, which we love, right? Back in the garden, then we have Waverly wakes up, Doc is still sleeping, so she comes back down and she finds these 4 books. And all that it says is choose one, but we really don't know why she's choosing. The 4 books have names on them. Nicole Haught, Doc Holliday, Waverly Gibson, not Earp, but Waverly Gibson, and Wynonna Earp. there's a little purse, and Waverly picks one, but we don't get to see which one she picks. Fans are going crazy, trying to figure out which one. Some of them think that it was Nicole. Other people think it might have been her own book, and other people are saying that it was Wynonna's book because she's the one that can save her. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But Waverly goes and does something that we'll know if it has good or bad consequences eventually. But the machine is going crazy, so she spills her angel blood into the machine, and immediately trees start growing. And when Doc wakes up, he sees it as a negative thing because he's like, oh, Waverly, what did you do? I don't know if it's negative or not, but what we do know is that Nicole is in the garden and she's wearing her smile. That's it. Now, here's the last clue that I want to talk about, and it's what Nicole looks like. Now, we don't get a lot of clothing clues because she's not wearing any, but we do know that her hair is in a braid. And if you recall, Nicole hasn't had a braid since the beginning of the show. After that, she cut it, and now it's long and straight when we see her at the beginning of this episode. But under that, in the garden, under that tree, wherever she's at right now, her hair is in a braid. So keep that in mind. So that was the end of the episode. Cliffhanger, we'll have to find out. There was a little bit of preview to the next episode, but I don't want to talk about that. We'll talk about the next episode after it airs. Stay tuned for that. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. I thought it was great. It was exciting. It was new characters introduced. We got to see old characters that we love. So for that, I thought it was 100% just what the fans expected. And I must say, this show was the fans fought for this show. So I think because of that, we appreciate it even more. Thank you for joining me in this journey. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.